So today we're going to talk about how to verify visual content online. And to begin with, we'll talk about the power of visual media. Then we'll look at some examples of visual misinformation. And then we'll also highlight the 5 pillars of verification, as well as some useful tools and resources. I'm Esther Chan, First Draft's APAC Bureau Editor, and I'm based in Sydney. So the power of visual media. We published a research report last November that showcases why images, videos, and memes are such a major conduit of misinformation. So one of the things that we found in our study of vaccine narratives online, which involved a sampling of 1,200 posts from across social media in 3 different languages, that is English, Spanish, and French, is that photos and videos accounted for 51% of all the content in the dataset. And that figure actually underrepresents the true number of photos and videos, because if there were other kinds of media, for example, if there was a link that was attached to the social post, then it was categorized as a link and not as a photo or video. So at least half of all of the content that we looked at in this research was visual media, which is quite a lot. These charts here, these were also published in our research. They highlight the surprising influence of Instagram. When we look at this, we see that Facebook was very prominent in the vaccine research, but so was Instagram, right? You can see here and here. So people talk about Facebook and Twitter a lot because they're primarily text-based, they're easy to use. But on the other hand, Instagram was also one of the major players, and it's a very visual-based social media platform. There just hasn't been enough studies on how Instagram has acted as a vehicle in the spread of vaccine misinformation. Here's another piece of research that we did that shows the role of visual media in online misinformation. So the project is called Comprova, and it's a collaborative project between First Draft and journalists in Brazil. We helped them monitor and verify misinformation in the lead up to the Brazilian election in 2018. So this is the breakdown of the types of messages we received through a tip line that we set up for the research. And as you can see here, nearly 50,000 of the messages we received in the tip line were images. There was also a significant number of videos as well, like here. So some examples from Comprova, the project. This image here was the piece of misinformation that we received the most during Comprova. And it's a genuine image of a ballot box on the back of a truck that had not been tampered with. But then it was circulating widely on WhatsApp with a rumor suggesting that the ballots in the box had been pre-stamped with votes for one of the candidates. On the other hand, YouTube said that it has removed more than 500,000 COVID-19 misinformation videos since February 2020 until this report, January 2021 this year. So that's quite significant. The other thing that's interesting is that about 1/4 of US adults use YouTube to get news, according to the Pew Research Center. So it's not like people are just using YouTube for entertainment or for music. A lot of people are actually using it just for news. And these stats are from the US, but this is not just in the US. YouTube is the 2nd most popular social network globally after Facebook. And it's the 2nd most popular search engine around the world, localized in more than 100 countries. It's often overlooked because a lot of people still think it's a video site where you look up cute cat videos or, puppy videos, etc. But actually, as we can see now, it's one of the go-to news sources for a lot of people. Let's look at some recent examples from our research. On the right here, you have a screenshot of a news article saying Sydney hotel quarantine worker tests positive to COVID-19 after receiving the vaccine. And the Instagram caption said that, oh, these people are liars because, see, this report says that vaccines don't work because the person who tested positive had actually been vaccinated. However, the reality is that the worker had only received 1 dose when you actually need 2 doses for the vaccine to work, right? So the person didn't actually have full protection yet, and he got COVID. The screenshot in Instagram post makes it difficult to access the article. For example, here, if you want to know more about the context and the background story, you can't actually click into the news article and see what happens. So without context, it's very easy to weaponize the content, right? That's probably one of the biggest problems with sharing screenshots. And this is a tactic that we see all the time. Images are very compelling, especially with COVID and the vaccine, because you have all these images of needles and graphic that illustrates how the virus travels and things like that. So here on the left, we have an image of a needle. This is a Facebook post from a German politician. So he's a member of the far-right Alternative from Germany party. And the text in the image here says, "End the human experiment now." So again, this plays into one of the most popular vaccine narratives that we've seen. Conspiracy theories about depopulation and that the government is taking away your freedom, things like that. But this time, the conspiracy theory is backed by a powerful image, which can make it really convincing for a lot of people, right? They see the needle and they feel scared. So one of the challenges when tackling visual misinformation is that visual media is harder to monitor. It's hard to sit through like a 20-minute YouTube video, watch the whole thing, and then pick out misinformation or rumors. Images and videos are also very emotive. They can be very compelling because they speak to your emotions. So often it's quite difficult to fight those compelling messages with long-form articles, which is like the go-to for journalists, health communicators. But the truth is, lengthy articles are just not as flashy and may not compete as well as a really well-produced video or a cleverly designed image. So here we have another example from our daily newsletter. François Azzolino, leader of the Eurosceptic political party in France, Popular Republican Union, he said that Prime Minister Jean Castex had injected AstraZeneca to 1 million French guinea pigs. So here he's preying on people who are concerned about the AstraZeneca jab, right? With all the recent news reports about maybe, we don't know if there's a link to blood clots, and it's largely unproven at the moment. But he's basically politicizing these concerns, sharing misinformation with political motives, messing with, the vaccine development, the administration and messaging, and talked about how people are being tested, used in human experiments and things like that. So let's look at TikTok as well. One of the things that makes TikTok special is that it is similar to other visual mediums that we're used to, like photos or videos, but on steroids because of the content density. One of the things that makes images and videos powerful is that they communicate a lot of different things at once. So just like memes, which often play on jokes and trends and, a collective discourse that attracts a certain group of viewers. With TikTok, you have so many of those things happening at once. You have memes and trends, you have hashtags, and all the things that you normally see on other platforms, but you also have sounds, which are sometimes associated with the visuals and sometimes not, right? You can also stitch together different TikTok videos from various users, so it can all be really confusing. For example, this screenshot on the left here, it shows a video that stitched together a clip of a woman this woman here, she works at a pharmacy, and she was talking about how she's scared that people are not taking the vaccine. And then there's another clip which shows a woman who looks like she's the one making this whole video. So the TikTok account of this woman is mostly about Christianity. And then she also says in this video that she doesn't believe in vaccine, but then if she takes it and if it kills her, she would know that's just God's plan. But then if you watch the whole thing towards the end, you realize this is actually a video from this user on the right, because she comes on the screen at the end and she was laughing about it all. And you wouldn't know this unless you wait until the end. So there's just a lot going on in these TikTok videos, and there are lots of different layers of meaning. And you don't necessarily know what all those layers are about until you watch the whole thing towards the end, right? The other thing that's interesting about this is, of course, it plays into the narrative about morality and religion, which is also one of the main themes of vaccine misinformation that we found in our research. Moving on, the 5 pillars of verification. So when it comes to verifying visual media online, we would look at the 5 pillars of verification, which is like a step-by-step checklist to make sure you're providing the strongest verification possible. So these are the 5 different aspects. First of all, before we spend any time on verifying something, let's think about the provenance. Are you looking at the original piece of content? And if yes, who's the source? You know, the person who captured the original piece of content. It may not be the same person who uploaded it online, right? It could be me who took the photo and then my friend uploaded it. But then if you just look at, say, the earliest version online, you may think my friend was the one who took the video, but it's not. So when was it taken? Where was it taken? And finally, why was it taken? Is it as simple as something visually compelling and you want to share with people on social media, you know, like flooding or tornado and things like that? Or is there some sort of agenda behind? So even though this session is about visual verification, you know, verifying photos and videos, you can also use this framework for anything else. For example, if you're looking at a website, you would think, is this website actually the original? Because sometimes people move websites to different URLs, and at other times they would scrape the content from a website and upload it to their own, right? So in the next session, we're actually going to learn more about how to verify content online. Also, if this is helpful to you, you can use this visual verification rubric to check how certain you are in terms of finding the original for each of these pillars of verification. And you can download it at the link here. Feel free to check it out. Okay, so when we talk about provenance, it is the importance of finding the original, because if you're not looking at the original, you might be verifying something that's totally out of context. On the other hand, if you do find the original and it's from like 5 years ago, then it's probably being shared misleadingly in the current context, right? So this is actually a video of a man screaming and running down the street, and some people in hazmat suits were chasing him. And the caption says, an Italian corona patient escaped from the hospital. But the strange thing is the on-screen text here is Arabic. So was it really Italy? So that's a bit of a red flag there. And actually, if you do some reverse image searches, you realize that the video has been online since at least 2015, and it was taken in New Jersey in the US. So it being from, you know, well before 2020 means that it's completely unrelated to the pandemic. So the caption is definitely false. One of the quickest ways to find the provenance of an image is to do a reverse image search. It's a quick way to see if there are other versions of a piece of visual media on the web. And we're going to talk about the differences in a few different image search tools. So on Google, when you run a reverse image search on Google, it would try to identify the word and the phrase that defines what you're looking for. And it also has a section of visually similar images. And then if you scroll to the bottom, it has a section called pages that include matching images. So this last section is very helpful because it allows you to see if a photo has been used in other articles or social posts, which helps to understand the context, right? This example here shows San Francisco's mayor, London Breed, getting the vaccine. And if you run a reverse image search on Google, you can see that the photo was used in all these different tweets that were not from her. So Google is a very powerful search engine, but there are reasons to branch out and try other different tools. And one of the reasons is that, ironically, as Google's AI becoming better, the exactness of their reverse image search has actually become not as good as before, because Google is trying to predict what you're looking for instead of giving you an exact image search, right? So this is a photo of some health workers in Nigeria, and it's actually originally from a tweet that says, "I'm so glad the health workers are getting the vaccine." And we did a search of the image on Google. We found a bunch of relatively similar images, but they are not really that spot on. But when you look at Yandex or Bing, which are two other powerful image search engines as well, you can see that these are actually a lot more accurate, especially Yandex. If you look for the similar elements in the original photo, you can see that, people in orange outfits in a tan colored room. There are also some bright windows behind them. So a lot of the images on Yandex, they're not the same image, but they fit that description. And same thing with Bing as well. Depending on what you're looking for, it's really worth looking at different image search tools because they all have their different strengths. For example, TinEye is another tool. It has a smaller database, but one thing that it's really good at is looking for digital avatars, which is sometimes the profile pictures. So this is a tweet from the Twitter user GNB Empresa, and the tweet doesn't have any engagement. However, there's something very strange about it. It says, "Happy National Vaccination Day," which sounds pro-vaccine. But it also has all these hashtags about vaccine injury, vaccines kill, vaccines harm actually, and vaccine injury awareness, which all sound anti-vaccine, right? And if we search the avatar on TinEye, it came up with a different organization here. And the fact that TinEye got the exact same logo in the avatar, that's pretty impressive. One of the most useful tools is the RefEye reverse image search. It's actually an extension that you can get for Firefox or Chrome. And the thing that's great about it is when you install it, you can right-click on any image, and then you can run a search on any of these reverse image search engines, say Google, Bing, Yandex, or you can choose some of them. And then each of these will pop up in new tabs in your browser, which saves you a lot of time. And you can just click through them and see what kind of results you're getting. When it comes to investigating a video, InVid is an amazing tool. It's again a free extension that you can download. And what it does is that it takes a video on social and breaks it into thumbnails, which makes it really easy to do a reverse image search because you got the thumbnails, then you can just do a reverse image search and see if the video has been posted elsewhere on the web before. Another thing is InVid will show you the metadata associated with the video. This is not applicable to every video, but it uses natural language processing to pick out verification-related comments. And what it means is it will sort through, say, the hundreds of comments on a video, and then some of them may say, this is fake or it's from somewhere else. So those would give you some ideas of the actual context, right? So InVid will pick out those comments for you which again saves you a lot of time during your investigation. The next thing is verifying source. So we're not going to get too into this because we will talk about this a lot more next time. The questions to ask are, who uploaded this content? And look at the other content. What does it tell you about the account? Is it possible they uploaded the content but did not create it? Does it make sense that the person who holds the account would have been able to capture the content? So for example, if I've been primarily posting images from Sydney, and then suddenly I share a video of like flooding in Germany, is it likely that I'm suddenly traveling to Germany, especially during the pandemic? So things like that. And also, can you find any contact information about the person? Sometimes it's actually the best way to do this is pick up the phone, good old way, journalism skills. It can be the quickest way to verify something because talking to the source directly is always more reliable than just sort of coming to conclusions about these people based on what you see on the internet. Next up, the dates that you see on social posts are not necessarily the time or date that it was created. So each of these social platforms displays their dates in a different way. So here's a checklist for you. It's important to keep track of the changes as well from these platforms because they change how to display the time and date and all that from time to time. So this is probably quite useful to save. Okay, moving on to geolocation. When you're verifying location, you always have to independently verify it. So not counting on local news reports or what some of your Facebook friends say, or even taking the caption at face value. This is the photo of a soldier with mask on, and it's geotagged to the Metropolitan Hospital Center in New York City. So the Instagram user says in the caption, "Can you believe this? Forced vaccinations." So the first thing we should question is the location. You can pretty much tag anything anywhere on social, so a geotag really doesn't mean that much. And this picture, in fact, is not from the Metropolitan Hospital Center in New York. It is a vaccination site at a hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. And the soldier is actually a soldier of the National Guard, and he was directing patients to the station. So you can see this is a news report about a photo with the right context. Some basic questions to ask about location when you're trying to verify location. Where is the account associated with the content based? Do they tag the location in their content? If there is a location identified, does it make sense that the account holder was there? And do they make note of their location in other posts as well? If you want to learn more about more sort of tips and tricks about verification, please check out, we have an essential guide on verifying online information, and you can find it in the training section of our website.